Hey, what's up guys, it's Darkarm Duelist, they're going to be doing a Celtic Guardian deck profile. So I'm really excited to see you guys because this deck is a really awesome stun deck that summons out one of Yugi's old school monsters, Celtic Guardian, which is a really awesome card to base a deck around. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test stands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of the original Celtic Guardian. This card is a really good 3 of in the deck because it combos with all of our other cards, so this card is a definite 3 of in this build. We then play 3 copies of Celtic Guard of Noble Arms, which is why we play 3 copies of the original Celtic Guardian, because this card has a really awesome effect that it can't attack while you have any cards in your hand. And then once per turn, you can special summon out a Celtic Guard monster from your hand. And when this attacking card inflicts damage to your opponent, you can draw cards equal to the number of Celtic Guard monsters that you control, which is a absolutely insane effect, because if you control 2 of them, you get to draw 2 cards. If you control 5 of them, you get to draw 5 cards, which is such an insane effect. This card comes in super handy to help us dig into the deck to be able to get additional trap cards that we can set to the field to control the board. We then play 2 copies of Obnoxious Celtic Guard. This card is a really good defensive card in the deck because it has the ability it cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster that has 1900 or more attack points. So you can just set this card to your side of the field and your opponent's going to have a real problem getting through this monster, which is really awesome for us. We then play 3 copies of Barrier Statue of the Drought. This card is really good in the deck because no monsters can be special summoned except for earth monsters, so depending on what your matchup is, this card can completely shut down your opponent from special summoning monsters. Well, it really doesn't affect us because all the monsters we play in the main deck are earth monsters, and we can get it off the field really easily by linking it and another monster away for a Nightmare Cerberus to then pop a monster on our opponent's field and help us go full combo, which is really cool with cards like Scapegoat. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is really good in the deck because it lets us search any of our Celtic Guardian monsters directly from our deck to our hand. 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster, just so we don't have to deal with our opponent's back row, which is always a great card to play in this deck. 2 copies of Heritage of the Chalice. This card is kind of neat, and you might be looking at this card and going, wait, where's the Noble Knights? Well, what's really interesting about this card is your copies of your Celtic Guard of Noble Arms can actually be searched off of Heritage of the Chalice because it has the ability to add a Noble Knight monster or a Noble Arms card from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is why I played this card as a 2 of in the deck, because it can get you to your really awesome powerhouse card. I did consider playing it as a 3 of in the deck, but since we are playing 2 copies of Pot of Desires as well, I ended up bumping it down to 2 in the deck, just in case I banish more copies of my Noble Arms Celtic Guardian than I have for this card. Now, your copies of Pot of Desires are really good because you're not really worried about what you banish off those 10 cards, but getting the 2 extra cards comes in extremely handy in the deck so that you can go in for more plays. We then play 2 copies of Double or Nothing. I'm playing 2 copies of Double or Nothing just in case I banish one off of the copy of Pot of Desires. But this card is really good because you make it Utopia double, detach a material, summon out Utopia on top of it, and search this card. The Utopia comes out at 5,000 attack points, and then when it does, you can then attack, use its own effect to be able to negate its attack, drop a copy of Double or Nothing, and then swing for 10,000 into an opponent's monster. And if it has 2,000 or less attack points and you swing into it, they are going to take a lot of damage, and if they're sitting at 8,000, you're pretty much guaranteed a win, which is really cool. We then play 3 copies of Moonmirror Shield. Moonmirror Shield is just a mean card. I love this card so much because it has the ability if the equipped monster battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, the equipped monster's attack and defense become equal to the attack and defense whichever's higher of the opponent battling monster plus 100. So it's always 100 attack points higher than whatever monster it's battling, which is just really cool. And then during the damage calculation only. And it also has a really good effect that if this face-up card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can pay 500 life points and place this card on either the top or the bottom of the deck, which lets you get this card over and over again. This card is really good to equip to your copy of your Barrier Statue of the Drought, because then they can't get through it with monsters by attacking it. So this card is really, really good in the deck to help you keep this monster on the field. We then play 3 copies of Scapegoat. Scapegoat is really good because they're earth tokens that we're summoning to our side of the field, and you can link climb into some really powerful boss monsters like your copy of your Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax, which is really an awesome monster to be able to climb into with your copy of Scapegoat. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison. This card is hands down the best normal trap card right now in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it lets you target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your field, but its effects are negated. Then you can banish a monster from both players' fields that have this same type as each other. And you can only activate 1 of this card per turn. I play this card at 3 in the deck because you don't have to use that second effect to be able to banish. You can just use the first effect to be able to revive a monster out of their graveyard, which is really good, especially with Branded running around right now. So you can actually use this card to bring back the copies of the Fallen of Albaz to turn off your opponent's copies of Lubellion or their copies of Albion, which is really good because you're getting the Fallen of Albaz out of the graveyard. So this card comes in extremely handy to be able to get cards out of your opponent's graveyard, or even bring back a boss monster to your side of the field that was your opponent's. We then play 3 copies of Storming Mirror Force. I cannot tell you how many times people walk into this card. It's awesome. It has the ability to, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, return your opponent's monsters that are in attack position back to the hand. This card is hilarious in this deck because nobody plays around battle traps. So this card is really good to just flip against the opponent when they attack and bounce all their monsters that they're attacking with back to the hand. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike is really good in the deck because when an opponent's monster would be summoned or a monster effect is activated, you pay 1500 life points and then negate the summon or activation. If you do, destroy that card, which is really good in this deck to be able to just stop the opponent and dig for this card super easy. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment is really good because when a monster would be summoned or a spell trap card is activated, pay half your life points, negate the summon or the activation, and when you do, destroy that card. This card is really good in the deck because with this card, you can stop so many different things and it's always live. As long as you have half to pay, and as long as you haven't lost the game, you always have half to pay to activate this card. We then play 3 copies of Crackdown. Crackdown is really good in the deck because it lets you activate this card by targeting a face-up monster that your opponent controls, and you take control of that monster, which is really good since we're playing so many link monsters in the deck that we can just link the monster away while also getting away with one of our opponent's combo pieces. This card also has the ability while you control that monster, it can't attack or activate its effects, which is totally fine because we're just trying to get it away from the opponent so that we can use it for a link material. So that's it for the traps, guys. Let's get into the extra deck, and that's it for the main deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. This card is hilarious to summon to your side of the field, especially if you use an IP Masquerena as a material, because then it also, on top of all of its other insane effects, can't be destroyed by card effects, and has a really good effect that when this card, or while this Link Summon card is on the field, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and also their monsters cannot target other monsters for attacks except for this one. And then once per turn, during damage calculation, if this card battles a special summon monster, quick effect, you can make this card gain attack equal to that opponent's monster's attack, and during the damage calculation only. And if the opponent does out this card, if this Link Summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can shuffle 1 card on the field back in the deck and it doesn't target. That is a really good effect to be able to just get an opponent's card off the field. And when, like I said, when you use IP Masquerena, it can't be targeted, it can't be destroyed by card effects, and it has the ability that basically if it battles a special monster, it gains the attack points of that special summon monster during that battle. This card is extremely hard for your opponent to out, and the only way they're usually going to out it is with a kaiju, so this card is really good to put on the field. We then play a single copy of Access Code just in case we need to pop cards on the field. I don't make it all that often in this deck. If my opponent puts a bunch of cards on the field, I can pop with it, but I usually use the copy of the Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax more than I use the Access Code. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa just in case we need some monster negates depending on what we're playing up against. 1 copy of Unicorn to spin stuff, your copy of Phoenix to pop spells and traps, and Cerberus to pop monsters. But Cerberus also comes up extremely handy in the deck because it is an earth monster, so you can get your copy of your Barrier Statue of the Drought off the field with this card to be able to then link climb into other cards while you have Scapegoat on the field, which is really, really good. Because you can basically have your barrier statue on the field and then flip a Scapegoat at the opponent's end phase, link the barrier statue away for a link, or another one of your tokens away for a link spider, and then link both a token and the barrier statue away for a copy of this to be able to pop an opponent's monster and draw a card because it'll be co-linked to the copy of the link spider, which is really good. We then play a second copy of IP Masquerada, so we can go into the copy of Unicorn, which is really, really good during the opponent's turn to be able to spin something. One copy of the Earth Charmer. Earth Charmer is really good in this deck because we're pretty much only playing Earth, so this card comes up all the time. One copy of Mrs. Radiant because it can boost our Earth monsters up by 500 attack and defense, and it's super easy to make off of Scapegoat. One copy of Link Spider. Link Spider is just really, really good in the deck to be able to make because it just takes a normal monster to make this card. One copy of Linkrio. You might be looking at this card and going, wait, how do I summon that? Well, it's super easy. You actually use your Scapegoat tokens to summon out that card, so it's very easy to actually summon the deck. One copy of Utopia Double to make the copy of Utopia at 5,000 attack points, negate its attack, and then once you do summon out the Utopia at 5,000, you can then swing, negate the attack, drop double nothing, and go in for 10,000. We then play a single copy of S39. I play one copy of Utopia the Lightning just in case we banish both copies or we draw into our copies of Double or Nothing and we can't make Utopia Double anymore to make the copy of Utopia. So I play this card as a 1 of in the deck just in case I need to make it. We then play a second copy of Baguska because it's also a level 4 Earth monster, or rank 4 Earth monster that can be made with level 4 monsters, and it's a really good defensive card to make in this deck, so I definitely want to play this card as a 1 of. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super creative, super fun to be able to play, and just really an awesome deck. I can't believe that you can actually build a deck based around Celtic Guardian, but we've done it, and it's super fun to be able to play, and it's just really, really nostalgic to be able to base a deck around the old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Yugi's main monster, like one of his main normal summons, Celtic Guardian. So anyways, guys, this is Dark Arm Duelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.